Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our next guest, Carol Coletta. She is the president and CEO of Memphis River Parks Partnership. How are you doing, Carol?
Great today, thanks.
So let's go ahead and dive in. We've had the honor of having you on our Changemakers podcast. And so anyone who wants to go back and learn more of your story, which is completely fascinating and the difference that you're making, go to citycurrent.com and you can watch that. But let's start out with some context. Give us some background on really forming the partnership. So give us some backstory on Memphis River Parks Partnership.
Memphis River Parks Partnership is the successor organization to Riverfront Development Corp., which was formed almost 20 years ago. And I think at the time, 20 years ago, the city felt that it could no longer take care of the riverfront appropriately to a standard that would make the riverfront appealing to visitors and Memphians alike. So there was a public-private partnership created. The riverfront remains public land, and the city provides an annual operating budget to the partnership, which is frankly the amount of money and the partnership's been getting the same amount of city funds since 2014, I think now. And before that, I think there had been one increase over the years. So what you have is an organization that tries to take the city's funds, annual operating funds, leverage that with some earned revenue, with some donated revenue, and has an eye toward developing our riverfront for all Memphians.
Talk about that goal for all Memphians in terms of kind of the vision. We'll start there and then we'll talk about obviously all the updates and everything that's going on because everything is in motion, but talk about the vision and the plan, so to speak, overall.
Yeah, well, let me say, our job is to trigger the transformative power of the river, working with and for the people of Memphis. And we take that very seriously because we have our greatest natural asset clearly is the Mississippi River. We have not, it's the reason the city is here. But as industrial uses have changed, as transportation has changed, then you say, well, what do you do with the riverfront that you've turned your back? It's become, your back was to the river. So now the question cities all over the world are asking is, how do we turn our face to the river and take advantage of the river and all that it offers? And so that, I think, is our job to figure that out, and to figure that out, Jeremy, in ways that are not just good for today or tomorrow or 5 years from now, but will really can be resilient and meaningful 100 years from now. And we started in 2017 with the Memphis River Front concept, and that put into perspective all the plans that had been done over the past, believe it or not, 100 years, to say, okay, we've got a lot of land on the riverfront. We can't do it all at once. We've got limited funds. So where do we start first? Where do we get the biggest bang for the buck? And then how do we keep going? And we have followed that concept that was produced in 2017. And since that time, we've transformed two parks, River Garden and Fourth Bluff Park. We've created the Memphis River Line, which is 5 miles of bike ped trail, connected trail along the river that essentially joins Wolf River Green Line on the north to Big River Crossing on the south. And we have underway now the Cobblestone Landing, or very soon, starting in March or early April. And we have Tom Lee, 30-acre park, most visible real estate in town, underway. But you asked me about a riverfront for everyone. And I want to speak to that because one of the things I think is easy to get missed in the development of the riverfront is that, yes, it is adjacent to downtown. Yes, it is in the heart of the district where tourists visit when they come to Memphis. But what few people realize is around downtown, surrounding downtown, there's a crescent of persistently poor neighborhoods that have been poor for 50 years. And the poorest zip code in Tennessee is 6 blocks from the entrance to Tomley Park. And so it is rare real estate in Memphis where you can bring people across the income spectrum to same place at the same time, to be in community together in a really low threat way. That I think is probably, if you cut it all away, I think that's probably the most challenging and the most important job we have before us, is to make the space at once alluring enough to attract people with financial options about where they spend their time, and also make it a fabulous, welcoming vacation for people who are not going to get another vacation. And there are not many places, not just in Memphis, but in America, that can serve both of those, both of those needs. And that's what makes this really so interesting to me.
Carry that forward, and then we'll talk about all the things that everyone needs to know in terms of what excites you. But carry that forward, because you do have a balancing act in the sense of you have the accessibility for everyone, including ADA compliance and those with disabilities, and making sure that they have just as much access. You have the different uses, obviously, with the festivals and the different events. So you really kind of have all these different sides that you have to take in and come up with a solution that really is customizable, yet is fair to everyone. So talk about a little bit just of those dynamics of working through all those pieces to, in the end, come up with something that everyone, really has value and ownership in, that's exciting and a huge opportunity for our community.
Well, let me start with ADA, because you mentioned that. The biggest move we're making in the new Tomley Park is to create the first ever ADA access from the top of the bluff to the banks of the river. That's really exciting. The entire park will in fact be ADA accessible, because we've got an aging society. We have, actually, if you look at Memphis's demographic pyramid, we have a lot more kids in our market than, as a percentage of the market, than do a lot of other cities. So just making sure that we can provide accessibility to those who are challenged is important. And again, first move we're making, biggest move we're making. In terms of serving these diverse needs and balancing that, I think we're doing a very good job of that at Tomley Park. I mean, you start out with a very, a beloved 7-day festival that you want to make sure can use the park. I mean, that was the debate about, the mediation and serving the needs of Memphis in May. We think that's great because, again, it's a beloved festival. It's part of who we are as a city. On the other hand, 7 paid days in the park, while really important, should not be the only thing that happens on our riverfront or in 30 acres of riverfront. So the question then is, how do you make sure you can, in fact, host that festival in a delightful way, but not compromise the experience people have the other days of the year? So I think that's part of the challenge that we've had on designing this park, but I think we've arrived at a really good place, and we look forward to hosting Memphis in May and other festivals in Tomley Park. We just always want to get the balance right. I talked about our commitment to serving a broad range of demographics. I mean, consider a lot of people in Memphis cannot afford to pay $60, for a day in the park. A lot of people in Memphis, have aged out of that kind of activity, right? That's not what they're looking for in life. They don't want to go down and be in a big crowd. Pandemic raises a question of, when will we feel secure again? So I think it's about a park that can serve a variety of needs, a diversity of needs, without compromising the needs of different users.
Yeah, I just think it's always, it's fascinating, but it's also important to understand the context of the big picture of, to your point, all the diversity that needs to be included to ultimately come up with a solution. And so in many cases, it's never as simple. It's always a more complex in terms of what you're dealing with. So talk about on your end some of the things that really excite you. You've mentioned already some of the developments that have already happened, but talk about where we're headed and some of the things that really put a smile on your face that you want everyone to know about.
Well, the development of Tomley Park, again, it's underway. Construction is actually underway. It's going to happen. So we are that one is really exciting. That park will be delivered in mid 2023. And the features in the park, it's funny, we just did a poll on this, and it's what put a smile on my face was to see how embracing of this park Memphians are when they understand the features of the park. So obviously, people have to go on with their lives, and nobody is much focused on the future, right? When you got to get the kids up and feed them breakfast, and now you got to Zoom with them all day, whatever, to learn something. It is, but when you tell them about the features, they love even the simply like gardens and trees. They're like, woohoo, gardens and trees, I love it. We talked about the civic canopy, 20,000 square feet under roof in the central part of the park, which is going to be this incredible space for dance and, games and public events. And you could do all kinds of things under this gorgeous canopy. People love that. They love the playground. They love the overlook, what we call the tail-out trail that puts you over the river and over the wildlife, the ecological area. And so they're just, the park is going to be, I think, a real stunner. And this is important to note. I've had to think a lot about this myself because, we have Mud Island that we manage. And again, Mud Island is people are so nostalgic about Mud Island and about, their visit when they were 8 and went to the museum, or their visit when they were 22 and went to a concert. And I love that. I mean, that's a lot to work with. But if you look at the program of Mud Island, built in 1982, designed in the 70s, it's a very tight program that wanted you to move through the experience in a certain way. And there were attractions, right, that were, set, right? So this attraction functions this way. And it's beloved for that reason. It's very special for that reason. But generally speaking, if you want something to last 100 years, one of the things you need to think about is, what does the program really look like that I'm building, and how adaptable is it? How much can it evolve over time? What are the classic elements that people will love today, tomorrow, and they loved it 100 years ago, and they're going to love it 100 years from now? And I think we've tried to think about Tom Lee more in terms of that kind of public space and park. And that, I think, will make it an ever-changing, ever-evolving kind of space. And so anyway, I think the civic canopy is 20,000 square feet under space. I can do something different with it this morning and this evening. It's not a set program. It doesn't compel me to do only one thing. Everything in that park is thought about as it can change. Even the playground, I'll tell you, it's interesting. The people doing the playground, a group called Monstrum out of Denmark, they've only done 3 playgrounds in the US. This will be their 4th. And one of the great things is they view playgrounds as, what you want is children to approach the playground and not quite know what to do. So to figure out what to do, they have to explore. They have to try there are 4 different ways to approach this and get up to the top of the slide. And, so it's an exploration. Therefore, it's learning. It's working in groups. And that to me is a great, that's what I want people to feel, even about the landscape in the park, right? It's an exploration. I don't have to do the same thing every day in the park. I can walk my dog, I can run, I can just smell I can enjoy the landscape. I can watch the sunset. I can eat and drink. I can play a game. I can line dance. You see where my head is. There are all kinds of things I can do, and I can do them when I'm 20, and I can do them when I'm 80. That to me is the kind of park that, that Memphians will love, and visitors, because visitors really want to be where locals are. So we have to make it a place for locals, and the visitors will follow.
Well, and everything you're talking about, obviously it sounds easy, but obviously it's not as easy as it sounds to be able to make it flexible and adaptable and, explorative and all these things that you're talking about. And so I think that really is the key is, like you said, it's not just what's going to be good, 100 years before, it's 100 years from now, creating those opportunities to engage and remember them and still be versatile and opportunities to be able to use them every day. So talk about on your end, the way that the community can help. How can we help? I mean, obviously knowing what you're doing and the vision and the plan and just enjoying it, that's the first key of this, but how can we help?
Thank you for asking. That's really a generous question. Several ways. One is to just follow what we're doing at Mem River Parks. And I ask you to do that because we are at the end of design development. We'll be starting construction drawings in about a month. Once we go through the pricing again, we've priced it at every turn. And just what we found, Jeremy, in this survey is that once people know about the features of the park, they love it. So we want to share those features with Memphians, and we want you to know what we're building together. Second thing is we have need for volunteers on a pretty regular basis, and that's another way to know when volunteer opportunities are available. Third thing is, if you see something you like, let us know. If you see something if you have an idea, let us know. If you see something you don't like or have a question about, let us know. We're easy to find, info@memphisriverparks.org. And finally, we are 78% of the way to our goal for Tomley Park. We've still got more money to raise, but we're getting there quickly. We have donors who literally give us $10 a month, right? And we love them, and their names will be in that park as donors. So we need donors of all sizes. And if you have an interest in donating to this park, let us hear about it. Nancy Harwood is our development manager in Harwood at memphisriverparks.org, or info again. And we're always happy to talk about development opportunities. Again, your name will be in the park. We got named features in the park that you can put your family name on if you want to honor somebody, create a memorial. We've had people do that. Gifts in the names of others, which we love. So lots of ways to help. But the main thing is just, we're trying to build something that we can all be proud of together. And so, just let's all find the good in our city. Let's find the good in each other. And, let's lift that up. I mean, my gosh, especially now, after we've all, had a very challenging 12 months. This is a good thing going on in our city. Again, a free signature public park that serves Memphians and visitors alike. I think Memphis will get a lot of national and international recognition for this park. And that's something, again, we can be proud of, like so many other things in Memphis. So we just want to add this to the list.
Absolutely. So wrap up, because you can't say it enough on the radio or on the video, but where do we go to learn more? So website, social media, where do we go?
Yeah, tomleypark.org is an easy way to see more about Tom Lee, and we are at memphisriverparks.org. And you can always reach us at info@memphisriverparks.org.
Well, Carol, greatly appreciate you and your team for all you do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeremy.